Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Fashionomics Online Accelerator Program. Please kindly settle in as we are set to start the session. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon once again. For the benefit of those that are joining this class for the first time, my name is Olagunjo Molabake. I work as a Senior Program Associate for the Creative Economy Practice at CC Hub, and I am based at the Lagos office. You are welcome to today's session of the Fashionomics Online Accelerator Program. And today we'll be examining the topic, how to set up and manage a team effectively. Please note that we have interpretations. Kindly click on the interpretation icon button just at the tail end of your Zoom and select your preferred language. Welcome, and then while you wait, please check your sound and camera. Turn on your camera if you can, and please insert in the chat box what you are looking to get out of today's session. What are your expectations of today's session? Please put them in the chat box. Today's session is going to last for 1 hour, 30 minutes. And the overview of today's session is going to be on the fundamentals of building and growing a team, the recruitment process, and managing teams. Let's listen to our ground rules. Switch on your camera if you can. Use the chat box to ask questions. Raise hand if you want to say something. For the sake of today's meeting and for subsequent meetings, please ensure that if you have anything to say, please use the chat box. You don't necessarily need to raise hands because your microphone will not be muted. Will not be unmuted, rather. Your microphone remains muted. If you want to speak or if you have any questions that you want to ask, please use the chat box. I will be more than happy to respond to you. Please participate actively. The session is meant for you to participate actively as much as you can. Send your comments, send your questions in the chat box. Give space for others to also participate. Please also note that your Zoom name should be the exact name that you registered with for this program. If your Zoom name is not named correctly, I'm afraid you'll be marked absent. Please kindly double check from your end to be sure that your Zoom name corresponds with the name at which you registered for this program. I will be introducing our facilitator to you shortly. Meet our facilitator today, Connie Alush. Who is excited to meet Connie? Let me see excitement in the chat box. Connie Alush is an award-winning fashion stylist, creative entrepreneur, and fashion influencer rather, sorry. She is faculty at Instituto Marangoni in Milan, Strathmore Business School, SBS, and United States International University. She's a corporate trainer for personal branding, image, and grooming. She's a fashion editor at the Sunday Nation and Business Daily. She's an alumnus of the Cherry Blair Women in Business Program, November 2020. She's a national consultant for International Trade Center, ITC Accelerator Program that mentors and supports local fashion brands, 2019 to 2021. She is a creator of the Social Sunday Fashion Brunch series at the Social House that supports Made in Kenya fashion in creative economy. Without further ado, I present to you Connie Alush. Send to me your clap hands, clap, 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 clap. To welcome Connie Alush. Hi, Connie. It's nice to have you once more. Thank you for availing us the opportunity to have you. We are glad to have you today.
Thank you, Omolabake, and good afternoon from Nairobi, Kenya. It's so great to be here. It's an honor. It's 4:10 p.m. here in Nairobi, and I'm so excited to be, back again and just sharing insights on how to manage and, build a team for a fashion business. And I'm excited about this session. It's going to be really, really interactive. I'm looking forward to your questions and your engagement. So the session, I'm divided into 2 sections. I will just share my insights about how to set up a business, and then I'm going to have my guest, who's a surprise, who's also going to set up, share her insights about how she'll be able to set up and manage a successful business. So in the true fashion of being a creative, the best way for me to introduce myself is just to show a few images about the work and what I've done. That's my website, ConnieAluwatch.com. Please follow me on Instagram. It's the same, and let's engage. Facebook is Connie Aluwatch Styling Management, and that's my website up there. And on Twitter is Connie Aluwatch. So follow me, and you can engage in the various creative things that I work on. As a stylist, I work on a lot of makeovers. That's one of the things I enjoy most. This is one of the projects I did on a lawyer. So she came in to us in order to change her image. So that's her before. As you can see, needed a bit of work. From her hair, where the hair exactly wasn't exactly a quality wig. For her glasses, we just gave her contacts, and her whole look, we gave her a wardrobe that's bright and more prominent because she's the owner of a prominent law firm. And as you know, impression is everything. So we were able to work on her image. And on the right hand is a gentleman. He's a pretty senior technical officer, is in a company called Lake Turkana Wind Power. It's a senior company in Kenya that manages electricity. So, the HR team told us that he doesn't exactly look the part of a senior technical manager. So we spruced his wardrobe up. We gave him clothes that fit him well. We gave him a tie. Basically, we revamped his image, and you can see he's a happy guy now. He's smiling. He's already and set to be a manager. And then I also am an editor, as we were told. So I'll just share a few images of, some of the stories that I've worked on. This is the most recent. This is Peperuka. I like to support and feature made in Kenya brands. So Peperuka is a lifestyle brand. And then this is Chris Njoki. He's the founder of the Kenyan fashion brand called Icon. It's a very well-renowned brand. So this is a few of that. And also in the introduction, there was something called the Social Sunday Fashion Brunch. Basically, I put together a platform where I am able to get designers to showcase. So basically, during the pandemic, a lot of us and you creatives, I know you can relate, we were at home for a long time because it was stay home, keep your social distance and all that. So some of us didn't work, like I personally didn't work for 9 months. And it was a really chaotic time. So I figured, why not put resources and teams together and put a platform and just put, means and, support each other. And I came up with this. So basically it's fashion and a brunch. We normally do it on a Sunday, and we bring together 3 designers each edition. So there's a menswear brand, there's a female wear brand, and an accessory brand. So, it's a fashion showcase. They have a pop-up, they're able to sell, and it's basically a fun Sunday afternoon. And the key thing is all about sustainability and creating revenues for these creative designers. So now I'll get into this first section of this presentation, is how you tailor your human resources to the specific needs of your fashion, textile, apparel, accessories, basically your creative business. Because as we know as creatives, when you think about structures, most of us don't either know or want to deal with structure in a business, but it's really important to have structure. Once you have structure, you have order, and you're able to successfully implement and output products. So the first process is recruitment, then there's training, then there's a compensation policy, and then there's how you have a thriving work environment. I'm sure we've all heard of stories where people have had to leave, their environments where they work because apparently it was a toxic environment. So it's very important to have and create a very positive environment. So let's look at recruitment. The first thing when I'm asked about recruitment, I always say, please don't hire for sympathy. You know how you hear a story of my mother's, father's, brothers, sisters, daughter's uncle, one of those needs a job. So you're hiring for sympathy. You have a friend who's, in dire need. I'm not saying support, but
Hi, Connie, is it possible that you slower your pace a little because of the interpreters?
Okay, sorry, I will do that, yes. So I'll go with the first thing is tips when hiring a fashion team. So what I've just said is do not hire for sympathy. What I mean by that is, if you have a friend or a cousin who needs a job, unless they're skilled or they're trained or you can train them, do not bring them into the business, because your business needs people who are focused and who have the skills. You're hiring for skills. That's the most important thing in your business. Hire for skills. Number 2, always have references. It's really important. Especially if you hire from Instagram, how you just say, you put up a poster, looking for a design assistant, DM your CV. My concern with that, unless the person can give you solid references of who they've worked for, the schools they've gone to, or where they've been or where they've worked before, I'm very skeptical about that. You really have to be sure of who you're hiring, because this is your business. It's personal. You're bringing people into your business who will know, your company secrets and company private, details. So you have to be very careful about who you're hiring and where you're getting them from. Now, fashion is very practical. So I'll give you my example as a stylist. Whenever I'm hiring someone to do as a styling assistant, I will always have them do a project for me. The project can be to create a mood board or to dress someone and just to give me a practical idea. Because it's one thing to talk and say you're a pattern maker. So I would, always urge, if you're designers, have them do a pattern or create for you, either a sample of something, then you can judge their skills. Because paper and practicality are two very different things. This is really important because you don't want to hire someone for the first month, and 4 weeks into the job, you realize that they can't stitch. The more, the more when you're hiring, the more interviews you do that are practical, the better for you. Then you're able to gauge if this person can really do the job which you want done. So let's look at unique needs for human resources in a fashion business. Obviously, number one, creativity. Whatever part of fashion you're in, whether it's designing, whether it's styling, whether it's pattern making, creativity is key. Can they interpret fashion from the trends to what you want to adapt to the market, whether in West Africa, East Africa, South Africa? Can they adapt fashion and the trends to the relevant market? They have to be detail-oriented, very important. They must be able to sew, all right? They must have excellent visual skills. Visual is really, really important. Our business in the creative industry is all about visual. If someone cannot create and put together a mood board or even take proper pictures to be able to post on social media, then you're not having the right people in your team. They must have an in-depth knowledge of fibers and fabrics and textiles, very important, because you don't want, people creating outfits. Like, let's say, you have a customer who wants an outfit, they have a beach party, and then they're there going to buy and select satin fabric. We all know how satin works. Once you sweat, it shows exactly, it doesn't lie. It really literally shows sweat on the fabric. So the people you're hiring must understand fabric knowledge, and really understand how to interpret the vision of a customer to the reality. Computer-aided skills are very important also. Sense of style, whoever you're hiring, they must look like they're creative. That's really important. You can't be having people who you're working with and they don't have any sense of style. And then lastly, they must understand the fashion market, the trends, both local and international. Now, when you're recruiting a specific team member to your business, I just put four key crucial points together that will help you. Adaptability. Can they work under pressure? You don't, an assistant designer or tailor coming in and you have, 15 orders to be done by Friday, then they keep on having breakdowns every evening. People must learn to work under pressure because that's the nature of fashion. Fashion is pressure. If you have someone who is constantly having breakdowns or constantly sick or just can't handle it, probably that's not the right team member for you, all right? What is their personality? Are they really determined to thrive and drive your business? Do they understand the vision of your company? Or are they just there on a joyride till they find the next best option? Especially with some of the younger generation, they kind of like hang on to this job till the next best option comes in. So you must be able to look at the person's character and personality and say, do they really want to work with me? Or are they just here to kill time? All right. Then what is their talent? You must be able to identify and help them just hone their talent. Are they better in pattern making? Are they better in drawing? Are they better in fabric selection? Be able to see their strong points. And from then, once you see their strong points, then you'll be able to guide them and help them grow. And then compatibility. Are they easy to work with the team members, or is it just drama after drama after drama every day, right? Remember what I said about the environment that you create? It has to be a positive environment. Someone in the team who's constantly bringing drama and complaining about every single thing and a whiner, you don't need that in your company. Now, let's get into training. Training is important because number one, you can develop programs to train on technology. Once you bring in technology or any new aspects, especially if you're in the production section, or you can develop systems for existing employees to determine, what they want, because learning is ongoing. I constantly also attend trainings because I want to better myself. So training is important, and even soft skills training, especially on sales and marketing. We all know that the biggest form of marketing right now is on social media. So the more you train, or the more, and also just sit down with your team on a weekly basis and see what are their strong points, what are they having problems with, where do they think they need a training. And from there, you'll be able to create a system about, and plan out, like every quarter we'll do training on production or pattern making, or, or sales and marketing or branding. Now, compensation. How do we do compensation? Most companies like to do performance reviews, and they normally do them either quarterly or at the end of every month, so that when, you can justify giving a salary, increase or a bonus to your team members. It's always good to have something where you can justify, engage, and measure deliverables that your company, your team members are doing for your company. If you don't have anything to review or to grade, your team against, then how are you able to know if they're improving, if they're actually putting input in the company? You must always have a performance review. And a lot of these are online, where you can get different kinds of, performance reviews based on, the type of company you have. But it's important to be able to always gauge your team and how they're performing. And then I would say always inform, it's really important that you're able to compensate your employees if it's a bonus at the end of the year. And sometimes it may not necessarily be a bonus, but maybe you can give them a day off. Like every quarter they have 2 days off or a day off, because sometimes the business may not afford to give a bonus. But if you can give a day off or two, who doesn't want a day off from work to rest on a weekday? So those are the kind of incentives that you can give to your employees, just to keep them engaged, and also always try as much as possible to engage with your employees, because sometimes they may be dealing with things that, that affect their work. So be very cognizant and notice any changes. Are they coming to work late? Is their attitude changing? Do they want to talk or not talk to you? Anything slight, notice and have a chat with them, because in this era of mental health, you want a positive environment and an employee who's happy to be at work. So work environment, especially if you're in the production area of fashion and designing, you need to have safety and security measures, fire alarms, first aid. You must have team members who are able to do first aid. You cannot have a production facility and no one knows how to do first aid. If an accident happens, especially I remember when I was in fashion school, two friends of mine, you know how you're working late into the night, two friends of mine had a needle go through their hand because they were tired and they were sewing, and I guess they didn't even realize that their hand was right under the lever, and that was it. They stitched their hand. So in a case like that, when you have no one who knows first aid, it can be really detrimental. You need to have team members who understand first aid. In the case of that or any other emergency, if someone collapses, who knows? Some basic first aid. Make sure everyone knows what their job description is. So if it's a pattern maker, they need to know their duties. If it's your social media manager, everyone needs to understand what their duty is, so there's no confusion. Have an open door policy that can improve your communication with your team members, and hold regular, whether it's team building meetings or just regular update meetings with your team members, so you're up to date with what's going on. Now, what are the unique resources and needs of enterprises in the fashion industry? So I just got this one online. It's called WOVU, and it's a human capital and investing in rewards beyond salary. So basically, it's a system where you're able to it's an HR system where you're able to have, strong online presence, you're able to upgrade the skills of the whole team. These are just things that help you as you input systems into your business, and you're able to actually track what your members are doing. All right. And it's also always important to always have strategy and keep discussing the strategies with your team members, because rethinking strategies is also important to attract and maintain the talent of the younger generation, the millennials and the Gen Zs. You know how this generation is, and I'm sure a lot of you are. You get bored easily. So if in your job that's boring and it's blah, blah, blah every day, it's routine and there's no challenge and no excitement, then you want to move on. So that's an example of WOVU. I just put it there. So it's a mobile phone-based worker engagement platform that features anonymous worker voice tools. So this is great because if a worker has something that they're not happy with, then they can just input, and it's anonymous. They can input their feedback or their suggestion, and then, you as a manager, you get it, and you're able to, get the feedback and work on how to improve your system. So what are the challenges that you face as an employer or employee in the workspace? So these are the do's and don'ts in growing your team. So this is the do, stick to an ideal hiring model. So as I said, hire for experience, skill, and qualities. And if the person doesn't have all the skills, then they can learn. But if the person has absolutely nothing, do you want to, you want to see how much time do you have to train the person? So these are things you have to really think about. And again, I'll say, don't hire for sympathy. You need to hire people who will grow your business, because also training takes time, okay? So the person you're investing in, they must be invested in learning and at least growing your business with you. So create cloud-based workstations, Google Drives, your doc, your sheets. Always encourage teamwork, recognize and always value each team member, and always give feedback and encourage. Anyone at any age always needs encouragement, whether you're 0 years old or 90 years old. We all need encouragement. We're all human beings. We have feelings, right? Once you encourage a team member, it makes them feel good and it pushes them. Involve your team in the goal setting process. Let them know where the company is and where the company needs to move to. So understand the importance of testing and sampling, whether it's an outfit, whether it's fabric, whatever it is, always create a sample and try it first. Hire the right people. I cannot emphasize that more enough. Always hire the correct people. And do not be afraid to fire. That's an important thing, because a lot of people, I can tell you my first time I had to fire an assistant, I had a headache and a migraine for 2 days because I didn't know how to go about it. I can tell you the first time firing someone is very intimidating. But if the person is not adding value to your business, they need to go. So you need to have a system where at least, and the people who are working for you, make sure you give them contracts, right? So that they don't come back later and try and sue your company or anything. Make sure you have legal documents, basic work contracts. So there's some legal binding, right? And if you need to fire them, just give them the reason of why A, B, and C, and then you can let them go. Obviously, if you've compensated them for the month they worked. But if someone is not adding value to your business, let them go. Try and keep your costs at a minimum. But what do I mean by that? If it's operational costs, just try and see. If it's production, if you want to go source for fabric, instead of going out every day, plan and organize yourself. You can just go out once a week. It's all about planning and organization. So what are the don'ts? Do not ignore conflict and micromanagement. If there's something going on and your team members are grumbling against one another, there's definitely something going on. You need to sit down and mediate and find out what's going on. Do not take all the credit. And this is really important because, if you're a designer and there's an outfit you've designed and it's a photo shoot, credit everyone, whatever you're doing. And especially in the day of social media where you can tag people, tag your assistants, whether it's assistants, the seamstress, the camera, social media manager. Remember how I said people need to feel appreciated. So do not take all the credit and don't play favorites. Yeah, just because Jane is the best or, the most promising in the company, you need to be very equal and level-headed and give everyone the same respect and attention. Never compromise on the quality of your work, of your team, of your products. This is really important. Remember when I said, if you see someone is not a good fit for the team, they need to go. And don't forget to ensure that your customers are constantly satisfied all the time. If there's a complaint, always add feedback. If there's a complaint, don't give your customer attitude. Have a conversation, find out what the issue is, because a dissatisfied customer is your best customer because they give you feedback that's honest and they'll help you grow and improve your business. Remember that. An unhappy customer is one of your most important. Then you'll know what's not working in your business. So I just did a quick roundup here of setting up a fashion business and very important points. So what is the sequence of setting up a business? Is there a step that is omitted? So I guess every business would be different depending on what your focus is, but these are just a few examples, a marketing plan. What is your niche, right? If you're selling, children's dresses and you're 5 people on the same street, what is going to make you different from Jane, John, Mark, and Leah, who are all on the same street as you, okay? Very important. Who is your target audience? Because if you're on the same street selling the children's clothes with Jane, John, and everyone, what will differentiate you from the other person? Pricing is super, super important. I'll tell you this, people want quality at a slow price. And a lot of you I know can understand this, right? They don't want to pay, but they want good stuff. So pricing is very important. Don't underprice yourself or overprice. You have to be able to, whatever you price, if it's like a dress, it must be able to take care of everything from your electricity to your production to everything to your rent. Pricing is super crucial. And then what is the name of your brand and how do you create brand assets and awareness? Please have your business registered. Just do things the right way. Register your business, all the documentations that you need. Remember what I said, at least basic contracts for all your employees, you need to have something, all right? I know as creatives, these are the boring part, especially a registration, but it's really important for your business. How do you market your brand? How do you distribute your products? So this is literally almost like a synopsis of how your business is and what you need. And then how do you design your source and source your products? Now, I've just done a quick overview of major roles in a company. So you have your designer, you have your pattern maker. I mean, we have endless, different positions. Social media publicist, admin assistant, a marketing director, and a visual merchandiser. And I'm sure there are more, but I just give a quick overview of roles in a business. So importantly, when you're managing a team, leadership is about inspiring and management is about planning. So management involves 4 activities: planning, organizing, controlling, and directing. A good manager can make employees more effective. However, leadership is a critical management skill, so both go hand in hand. So leadership and management go hand in hand, all right? So the challenge lies in making sure you're both leading your team as well as managing your day-to-day operation. So I've just given a quick overview here. So leaders have followers, managers have subordinates. Leaders are motivational. You are the driver of your business. If you're not motivated, that vibe goes right down to, whoever is, the cleaning lady in your office. If you're not motivated, the vibes, then you're also not demotivating your team. So leaders are motivational, managers are authoritative. So if you're the main designer and you have, let's say, like an assistant designer or a general manager, make sure, right, that they are also motivational because they need to mirror who you are. A leader shows you how to do things. If there's a pattern that needs to be done or the design or you need to go fabric sourcing, go with your team members, show them specifically what you want, let them understand your aesthetics, right? Because if you tell them what you want them to do, then they don't understand, then obviously you'll get things, all the time wrong. So always show your team members how you want things done. Leaders always like to create heroes. By this, I mean, they bring the best out of your talent. Remember what I said, you spot talents within your team members. If someone is good in production, then that's where, they thrive the best. So don't put them in drawing, because that's not their best point, right? And finally, leaders develop power. They identify the skills. They know who, the most, skilled person is for each department, and they're able to create powerful, team members, all right? Managers exercise power, meaning they're just telling you, do this, do this, do this. You must be very careful, like if you have someone who's under you, that they're not undermining your team members. The leaders who are under you need to have the same vision as you so that they don't demotivate your team. And that I'll end with this finally. Steve Jobs, great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people. And now I think it's time those are my social media handles. And now taking any questions.
Thank you very much, Connie. I can see quite a number of comments in the chat box, so I think I'll just lead you through them so that you won't have to worry looking through the chat box all by yourself. So someone says that, okay, this is Marina Zambo. How do I recognize the right employees to recruit? I really have this problem.
Okay, I'll start with that. That's a good question. So remember what I said, when you're interviewing, your interview process needs to be really hands-on and practical. So if you're a designer, have them come in for a week, and you can even test them for a week. Have them work on the machines, pattern draft. That's the only way you'll be able to identify if that person can fit into your team. Because I said, just sitting down and doing an interview in a boardroom and asking the person, can you stitch? Can you do pattern making? And they say yes, you will not, is not a justification for them to be able to do the work in your business. Make your interviews as practical as possible so that you know that this person can fit in. Again, they can come in for 4 interviews and you can have them work on different areas in the business, and then you can see what best fits for them.
Thank you very much, Connie. Marina, I hope that answered your question. We have another question from Edith Mbaya. She says, I don't know if it's a she or a he, but pardon me, please. In regards to hiring the right person, what is your opinion on poaching a skilled employee from somewhere else?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. So this is the thing. Personally, in my entire styling life, I have never poached. My assistants always get poached, right? Because for me, I like to work and mold talent, right? If you're able to poach and pay them higher, that's fine. But just know most probably they'll be poached again. I mean, it's really your values as a manager and a person. I don't like to poach. I like to just train someone who has very minimal experience, and then I train them up. If you can poach and you're able to poach and match the expectations of the salary, then I guess go ahead. But for me, I don't like to poach. I just like to work with a team who are aligned, and I've been able to kind of shape them from the start.
Thank you very much, Connie. So apparently what Connie is trying to say is do what works best for you. So we have another question from Michael Taya. Apologies if I did not pronounce your name correctly. Sincere apologies. What if you can't afford the person you judge is the right employee for your business? What kind of solution or remedy is there for this?
Okay, sorry, please say that again. What if you can't afford the employee?
Yes, what if you can't afford the person you judge is the right employee for your business? What kind of solution or remedy is there for this?
The solution is to identify someone who's at a cheaper rate, and most probably you need to, at least if they have the basic foundation skills, then you can train them. People are trainable, in all honesty. I can say that. I've had an assistant who was with me for 6 years. When she came, she was straight out of university. She left in December and joined me in January. She had no experience in styling, but I could tell she had a knack. She was, as a stylist, you need to be able to do good research and put looks together. Once I saw that, I trained her, and she stayed on for 6 years. So people are trainable. But you remember what I said earlier, they must have the attitude if they want to learn. So that is your solution. You can find someone and train them, but they must have the right attitude.
Thank you very much, Connie. We have another question in French from Jean Azim Dembele. The question is in French, but I have the translated version. So the question is, I have big problem. I find myself doing everything, and with them and without me, it's very complicated. I guess what this person is trying to say is that he or she finds themselves doing everything with the employees, and when they are not there, the whole thing becomes complicated. What is your advice for this kind of business owner?
Very good question. Now, when you're managing your teams, you must learn how to delegate. Delegation is really important. Again, let me give you my example of how I work. So with my stylist assistants, when we have a photo shoot, the client will give us a brief, then I'll look through the brief, then I'll delegate the 2 assistants to go out and get the clothes, because I've been able to train them on what will work for this certain shoot. So in case I'm not able to go and get the clothes, at least I've trained them in such a way that they can go get the clothes and prepare for the photo shoot, and then I can go to the photo shoot later on. If you don't delegate, you will burn out. I personally have suffered burnouts for many years because I was doing everything. So what I've learned these days, I literally work 4 days in a week. The other one, I rest every week, so I don't suffer burnout. Remember how I said hire the right people, their skills? These are people who should offload work from you, because if you keep on doing everything, you will definitely burn out. You need to learn to delegate and train. Spend time in training your team so that when you're not there, you need to take a break, they can step in.
Thank you very much, Connie. We have a question from Sekisong Frank. How do you handle experienced and inexperienced workers? How do you handle experienced and inexperienced workers?
Okay, the best way to go around that is the workers who are experienced. It could be 2 ways. Either they've been with your company long, or they have come in at a higher grade and they have the experience. So those are the ones that give them more responsibilities because they have experience if they're a production, pattern maker. So if they come in and they have experience or they've been in their company maybe 3 years, then I'd give them more tasks that are harder. And then the inexperienced person, I'd have the experienced person train the inexperienced person because you have to be smart. So remember how I was saying you need to be able to train your team members. The ones who are skilled, who you've trained, can train the inexperienced ones, and it becomes a whole cycle in your company. So that's how you're also able to do the training. It's peer mentorship.
Thank you very much, Connie. We have a question from Vianney Zuluchi Oladejo. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce your name correctly. Please pardon me. How do you hire a good community manager and social media manager?
Good question. A lot of that is based on the experience that they've had. They need to literally show you their statistics of the projects or profiles or companies that they've worked on, and if they've been able and what they've been able to do. If they tell you that they've worked with an influencer for 4 years, they need to show you remember what I talked about, the KPIs, the key performance indicators. What specifically have they been able to do for the influencer? How have they been able to help the influencer? Was the influencer at 5,000 and 4 years later they're at 10,000? I mean, what can they do? Because remember what I said, unless someone can practically show you what they can do and it's all just written on a CV, that doesn't work for me. They need to show you what they can do. And then another one, you can just give them a test for 1 week, just work with them, for a week, or give them an interview or give them a project to do. Then you're able to analyze. Our work is very practical. Again, written doesn't work. Practicality on the job, if they need to do a shoot or take pictures or do a vlog for you, then you can see their style of work.
Thank you very much, Connie. Please, if you have other questions, if you still have questions, please drop them in the chat box. We'll take them one after the other as time permits us anyway. We have a question from Kende Toluwalope. How do you handle a situation whereby you employ, train, and then they leave after a short time?
Okay, sorry. So how do you handle when you have, and how many, 3 people, or is it 1 person?
The number was not specified. It's just says whereby you employ, train, and then they leave after a short while.
Okay, I'll refer to my business and how I worked it out. So I have my stylist assistants, but then I also have my interns. Okay, so in the case that any of the stylist assistants are the ones who train the interns. So in the case where one of the assistants or both of them leave, I always have a backup plan of the interns who've been within the business so they understand. Always have a plan A, B, and C of the business. You cannot only have one, like if it's a production manager, get an intern, right? And interns, the good thing, they don't have to be there every day. They can be there part-time. You can give them like a stipend for food and transport. But the thing is, your business should not be at the mercy of your employees. You have to be very careful that your employees are not holding you ransom, right? So if they go, you always have to have a cycle of a backup plan of A, B, intern A, B, and C, so that it's a smooth transition.
Thank you very much, Connie. So we have another question from Bulabankosi. Is it better to get an experienced person with lots of demands or getting someone inexperienced and train myself?
I think what the first question I'll ask you is, do you value your sleep and peace of mind and mental health? If you do, then if that's a person, remember what I said, the environment, if that person is constantly going to be demanding and whining and toxic and affecting your mental health, then you don't need them. You'd rather hire someone who is inexperienced, has a great attitude, willing to learn, and you can train them. Your peace of mind is the most important thing you need to have in your business.
Thank you very much, Connie. We have a question from Victoria Gashkin. I understand the importance of having experienced and skilled labor tailors to ensure quality work. However, without being able to micromanage them, how do you handle those individuals who have not gone to a fashion school? This is the issue of micromanagement.
Okay, so I think it's not really micromanagement. It's about guiding them and checking the quality. Because, as we know with tailors, they can have one dress that's perfect, then the next 3 that are not perfect, inconsistency. So it's more about checking the quality and really working with them step by step. And also don't make them feel like, they're doing the wrong thing all the time. You need to appreciate when they do a good job on, on the dresses, let them know. But again, you have to just keep reminding them that quality control and consistency is important. So it's more about just literally production and checking and quality control. That's the only way you can work around that.
Thank you so much, Connie. The questions are still coming in. Like I said the other time, participants will take in the questions. We'll take in as many that we can answer. So this is from Priscille Boutou. The question is in French, but I've managed to translate it. And I guess what this person is saying is, how do you retain talents that work with you, like your employees? How do you retain them after training them?
Good question. So again, I'll refer to a practical example. I had my assistant, the one who I told you who I just got from university. So she stayed with me for 6 years, and she really learned the business in and out. But then she wanted to do her MBA, and she applied and she got a scholarship. So last year she worked part-time for me for 1 year. And in that 1 year, when she worked part-time, she was really able to train my 2 new assistants and my interns. Okay. Because eventually I knew she was going to leave, and this year she left. So the thing about retaining talent, you can't force someone to live, to stay. It's really impractical. If someone wants to go, they can go. So, it's really about having that conversation. And I always have an open conversation. If they tell me that they want to do this and this, wherever I can support them, I will. But honestly, in today's world, you cannot stop someone from leaving. So that's why I keep on saying you need to have a pool of people. So if one leaves, then you have a backup plan, because they will always go, right? That's it. You can't stop someone from dreaming and pursuing what they need to pursue. So there's no answer to that. The only answer is just keep training, have interns, have a supply database of whether it's assistant designers or tailors who you can call. That's the only solution. You can't stop someone from leaving,
Thank you.
I mean, maybe you can add the money, but after a while, even the money, maybe it's that, but can your business afford to keep raising their salary? You need to look at that. Does it make sense to, okay, maybe after a year, add a salary, another year, add a salary, but is that person at the mercy of the business? So those are the things you need to consider.
Okay, so thank you, Connie. There's a question from Senao Moji. How do you handle extra hands? Say you add more skilled part-time workers, let's say for a project in a short period.
So I didn't understand the question. How do I handle skilled workers? I didn't understand.
Yes, I guess what this person is trying to say is that how do you handle extra hands for a particular project just for a short while?
Okay, perfect. So that's like a part-time project.
Yes.
So I guess again, what do you agree with these part-timers? Are you paying them on a daily basis? Is it on an hourly basis? Is it per month? You need to agree on that, or what your payment will be for that project. So it needs to make sense for your business. So if it's like on a daily basis, they're there twice a week, that can get expensive. Or rather, you agree on a flat fee for the project, which will take 3 weeks. So again, you need to communicate and agree with them what can work for the business. Again, that will kill the business.
Thank you very much, Connie. We have a question from Rawa Zero. What kind of techniques to use to recruit employees? I guess what this person is trying to ask is that what should you look out for when you want to employ new employees?
I think I said earlier is what specific job description do you need the person to fill? And when they come in for the interview, again, I'm going to reiterate this. Make sure that the part of the interview process, if it's a designer, have them do a pattern for you, a practical aspect, so that you can be sure that they can do the job. If it's a pattern maker, let them draw or drape. If it's if it's a designer and an illustrator, let them do a project. Those are the skills that you need to be looking for in the person that you're looking to hire. That is how I personally hire. I have them do a project, and I'm sure that they can fit into my business.
Thank you very much, Connie. We have Ruwaida Soliman. She says, in some jobs, I prefer to work with freelancer. Is it a good idea?
Yeah, so long as you're able to agree on your working terms and they deliver and you're able to agree on your payments, I think that's fine, because I also work with freelancers when I need certain things done, especially for my social media. So it's fine.
Okay. Thank you very much, Connie. There's a question directed to you from Kemi Kayode Akimbolade. And she says that if you have to start this business all over again, what would you do differently?
That's interesting. I think I've really tried to do things the right way. What do I do? I think I would hire an IT person, consultant at the start. I'll give you a story. I've had many assistants. There's an assistant when she left. I'm not sure what she did with the IT system, but everything, all my emails were shut down, and I didn't know how to redo it again. So I had to hire. It was a whole long process and everything. So I think I would hire, because IT is everything in my business, because all my documents, my Dropbox, my OneDrive, everything is connected to my emails. So I'd hire I'd get an IT person at the very start of the business, because that's the bone of my business, my documents and my systems. So that's what I'll do differently. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Connie. This question is in French from Randrian, and the person is asking the question that if the employee has a good attitude and talent, but has no communication experience, how do you manage it?
Well, as you said, if they have good communication skills and other skills, then if they have the talent but not the communication skills, right?
Yes.
Some of these you can train them. You can just literally every day just work out a plan of what a task they need to do on communication. You check it, and you just keep working on them, because sometimes may not get the perfect person for everything, but if they're good in 3 areas, there's one that you can literally train and hone the talent.
Thank you very much. We have another question from Belinda Katongo. Is it a must that a social media manager should be permanent, or maybe one can subcontract?
Again, that's really up to you and your business and what works best for your business, because they can either come in on a full-time basis or on a part-time. My business, I have 2 social media managers, but they are on a consultancy basis because I don't need them every day. It's only when I have a project. So that's how I work with them.
Thank you very much.
Your business. Just a kind reminder that I have the second part of the presentation.
Yes, please just nudge me when it's time for you to have the second part. We can always take the questions maybe later.
Yeah, it's actually time now, so I'll hand it over. Yes. So the second part of this presentation, I'm a very practical person. So I thought about bringing in a designer, a renowned designer in Kenya, Chris Njoki. The brand is Icon. And I would like her to just share experience of how she's been able to set up systems. She has 3 retail stores. She has a production team, and just basically how she's able to just really manage all those, because I think the more practical this session is, the better it will be for you. So I think I'll hand it over to Chris Njoki.
Hi, Connie. We can't seem to hear what Chris Njoki is saying.
Okay, let me just see, maybe if she puts off her camera. Yeah, Chris, I was going to say, maybe if you put off your camera, that will help. Okay, so as Chris continues to organize herself, I'll take some more questions. Chris, when you're ready and you have audio, then I'll let you take over, but I'll take any more questions if there are any left.
Hi, Connie, you can please turn on your video. Okay, wow.
Yeah, so Chris, as you organize yourself, I'll take any more remaining questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Connie. Okay, let me look for another question that we can ask. From Emmanuel Atakora Mano, who says that, how do you handle hiring a new yet more experienced, talented person than your already chief artisan who has been with you for over 5 years?
Good one. So how do you hire a new young talented person who's more experienced than the one you have? So the question is, why you getting the other person? You need to be able to identify in the business, do you need to let one go to hire the younger one? Or if you have the younger one in the business, will they be able to work together? You need to consider all those factors, because you don't want an environment where you have 2 people fighting and egos there. So what you need to do is be able to figure out, do we really need this young person you want to hire? Or do you need to have the older person leave and then you hire this younger person? It's really about the dynamics in your business and what you want. That's important.
Thank you very much, Connie. Let me look up for another question in the chat box. Someone says that's Victoria Gashkiye. He said earlier you had discussed the fashion brunch on Sunday. Could you
Yes.
please share the concept again? I'm interested.
Great. Okay, so the Fashion Brunch really is about support. It's a platform I created a year ago to currently supporting Kenyan designers. And I'm hoping as it grows, we're able to support African designers. So what it is, we identify 3 designers to participate, menswear, women's wear, and accessory. So basically the concept is doing a brunch. We have models and there's really no runway built. They basically interact and walk around the tables that are seated. It's a very lifestyle experience. And after the show, also during the show also, they have a section where they have a pop-up and they're able to sell their collections. So it's a very interactive fashion show. And we've been able to have 4 editions. And I think for the third and fourth edition, we had an audience and we were sold out. We had over 80 people at the event. So there is a need for these kind of events. And we're hoping eventually to be able to invite other African designers from around Africa to be able to fly into Kenya and participate in the events.
Thank you very much, Connie. I don't know if Chris Njoki can hear us now and can she speak?
Hello, hi. I can
perfect.
hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Sweet. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna keep my video off because that may be the reason why I wasn't being heard for. So thank you, Connie, for the introduction. My name is Chris Njoki. I am the founder of fashion brand Icon, which is a made in Kenya women's wear brand. And today I'm here to speak about growing a team in business. So I'll just give you a bit of a backstory about the Icon brand. In the meantime, I'll be sharing the screen. All right. Let me know if my screen is visible.
Not yet, please.
Not yet visible?
Yes.
Okay.
If you don't mind, you can share the link with us. I can share on your behalf.
Is it visible now?
Not yet.
Can I interrupt? I have it, so let me share it.
Okay.
So make it faster for you. Hold on a second. I'll share it from my email. So Chris, maybe you can just be giving a bit of a background as I share.
Right. Okay. So I run a fashion brand called Icon based in Kenya. It's a women's wear brand that's 100% made in Kenya. And the brand has been around for 8 years. We have 3 stores around Nairobi. At 3 different malls, and we also have our e-commerce website that is www.icon.com. So the brand just focuses on women's wear for now, and what's most unique about the Icon brand is that it's 100% made in Kenya, and not only that, but I would say 95% of everybody that works at the Icon brand are women, and that's something that's I'm very passionate about. It's growing women and teaching women skills that can further advance them in life. And so we do a lot of in-house training as well, and it's purely a decision I made as the founder of the brand to really just bring in more women and train a lot more than hiring more knowledgeable people. Other than that, I would say our goal is to now become a brand that services the entire African continent, and we're looking to expand into African markets, go into neighboring countries, and eventually go throughout the entire African continent. I am very, very strongly involved in the e-commerce, and even starting the brand 8 years ago, I wanted it to have a bigger e-commerce and digital focus, but we did end up opening the stores just because when it comes to online shopping and e-commerce, I feel like in Kenya, and I feel like it's the same in Africa, we're still not there yet like the Western world with online shopping. And so we find we still need to get our customers to have trust in the brand through having the stores where they can come and experience the brand in person. All right, so I can see that Connie has shared the screen. What I'll do is I'll just go through everything quickly so we have time for questions in case there are any after. Okay, so I think in the first slide you can just see that's the Icon brand. We are currently the fastest growing ready-to-wear women's brand made in Kenya. Down there are all of our social media platforms. Our website is www.icon.com. Like I said, we have a very big focus in the digital footprint, and so we make sure that we're on all the social platforms, because this then direct everybody who's on social media onto our website, and we're able to make sales from the website. Cool. So on to the next slide. This is the heart of Icon. I just sort of put it in three main spots. And so one you can see here is sales. On the left-hand side, we have our sales section. So in here, I've included the people who are selling inside the stores, inside our 3 stores. We also have our e-commerce where we do sell from as well. And I've also included customer care. So in the sales section, we have 8 team members. And then on the right side, we have content creation. So what we do with content creation is we actually have an in-house team that produces all of our content. Now, this is so important for us because we're trying to push an image, or like we're trying to push the narrative that is made in Kenya and women empowerment and sustainability. So the best way for us to do it right now in this day and age is through social media. It's a free and tried and tested method to make sure your whatever you're trying to say about your brand is heard out there above and beyond where it is that you're located. So in our content creation space, we have marketing, PR, digital, and this comprises of 4 team members. And then at the bottom, we have production. This comprises of design, pattern, apparel, production process, just the entire thing. This has 24 team members. Now, as you can see, even with the placement of the different team members, the production definitely has the highest. I think right now we have 50 to 60% of our staff are in production accessories. So there's going to be a lot more people in production than in the other departments. Okay, so we can go to the next screen now. So in this, just going to sort of touch on a unique workforce, what makes our workforce a little rounder, and I am the CEO of the Icon Fashion brand. I went to fashion school in Kenya, actually 4 years, and when I finished, I had another business for about 1.5 years where I used that business to sort of get money to start the Icon brand. And so I do consider myself self-made, and I am a woman. So for me, it's very important again that I make sure, even with the Icon team that I'm building, to really have a preference for women in the team. That is because I feel, especially because we're in Kenya, in Africa, you do get a lot more problems when it comes to women finding roles or jobs, and even just being able to take themselves through school. I remember when I was starting the brand, one of the biggest things I was encountering as I'm looking into hiring was a lot of people I would meet would have the passion, especially women, but they just didn't have the means to go and study or find the skills. And so that became like a passion for me, a passion project. And so ever since, I've just made it, I think, for Icon to have a higher percentage of women in the team. So as you can see that in gender, 100% of our production and sales team are women. 95% of the overall team at Icon are women. In the training, 70% of our seamstresses started their first jobs with us. What that means is that these are people who I selected or who I met, who I could see had the passion. They really wanted to learn more in, sewing or design, but then they just had no way, and they had no experience because, of course, they had no skill. And so I took these people in, and we trained them because we already had a couple of people who are experienced on the Icon team. And so we took some time to train these women, and now they've been with us for 3 going on 4 years, and they're really good, and they're very, very skilled. The thing with training is it takes a little bit more time. I would say if you don't get into training unless it's something you're really passionate about. There's some pros to training. You get a lot more loyalty, and you get people who are actually motivated, because somebody who's ready to learn, that's someone who has passion, and so you get a lot more motivated workforce, but it does take more time. I will not kid you. And the other pro about training is you're able to train your workforce to do exactly how you want things done. That said, we still have a section of our seamstresses who are experienced, very experienced, in fact, and that when they come in, the best thing is that when they come in, they're already outnumbered by the people we have trained ourselves. So they kind of just come in and they're able to adapt into the culture, which is more motivational and like learning. It's not about coming in hard-headed, like I know everything. They come in and they're able to adapt really well. So it's just striking that balance where you make sure that more people on the team are sort of the way or the kind of culture you want them to have, so that even if someone else comes who's new, it's difficult for them to change anybody, right? So Salesforce and customer care training on the job. So we do have a lot of, what we'll do is even with the salespeople, say in our stores, we'll get people with experience, but because we are trying to be, we're trying to stand out. And sometimes as a brand, you don't have to stand out in your design, really. You can stand out by how you treat your customers. You can be the brand that really focuses on their customers and makes sure their delivery service is exceptional. Make sure their experience at the store is unlike any experience they've ever met. Make sure that, when customers come to your store, they leave with a smile. So for us, the training is important, even for the people who are dealing with their customers on the floor and on the phone, and that's the customer care. So we do quarterly trainings with the staff that interact with customers one-on-one, because these are the people who are representing the brand when I'm not there or when someone else in management is not there. And in terms of in-house content creation, we have, of course, our community manager. That's the person who's in charge of social media. So social media is literally all platforms, including YouTube, everything, they're able to handle that. And then we have our PR manager who manages, events, any PR, anything needing, PR is basically public relations. So anything requiring talking about the brand, any interviews, any of that, she's able to handle it. And then we have our videographers and our photographers. Those handle just the content we need. So aside from actual like apparel content, we do a lot of content surrounding sustainability, surrounding made in Kenya. We try and keep it not too focused on the product, but actually more as well bringing in the value we're giving to our customers. Wages and benefits, this goes out now to the salaries that we pay our staff. We're able to ensure we give basic salaries, and on top of that, we give the health insurance and retirement benefits. I made the decision to do this because in a lot of, especially workforce that is centered around artists, I found that, people don't take too seriously the formal sort of benefits and wages. It's like, it's very under the table. It's like, oh, I'll just pay you this, and it's not taxed, it's not formal. And for us, I'm trying to grow a brand that is, as per the books and very legitimate. And so for that, we have to make sure that we are offering our staff all of the things that they would get if they were in a formal sort of white collar job. Cool. So I think I'm done with that. So for the last slide, I'm just going to touch on some do's and don'ts when growing your team. As you can imagine, I've gone through a lot of, heartbreaks when it comes to recruitment and staff in 8 years. But some of the key things that I have learned when you're recruiting is always request for, a resume or a CV, and always call the references. People sometimes when we request for CV, you have the references at the bottom, but then you don't call them because you meet this person and you think they're so cool. It's like people can deceive you when they're with you the first time. So make sure you always call the references, do a background check if you can. In fact, even now we do something called a police background check, where the person coming to look for a job actually has to come with a police document certifying that they've not been involved in any crime. This is very important because this is someone you're bringing into your business and you really don't know them at all, and you don't know what other ulterior motives they could have, so you need to protect yourself. The other thing I would say is your team is not your family and they're not your friends. You're hiring them to do a job, so you need to keep it professional. It's okay to be nice, but you have to keep it professional. Only hire when you have a definite yes from your gut. Now, this is something I must say that I learned later on, but I've now learned to just hire if it's a definite yes. If it's a maybe, we could try, but if I'm feeling, it also depends. Like if it's a yes maybe, then it's like, okay, fine, maybe I'll just give them a longer probation period until I see if they can actually improve, or if they can do what I think they can. But unless it's a sure yes, I'd just say don't go for it. Probation, like I mentioned, is fundamental. Standard probation period here is about 3 months. But I would say don't be scared to extend a probation period if you're not satisfied with the person's skills, because they're going to sell themselves when they meet you. But if in 3 months you don't see they're not able to really meet their KPIs, then don't be scared to extend to 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. It's your right as an employer to do that, but don't extend it more than 6 months. I think after 6 months, if someone hasn't shown you that they can do their job, I think it's time to cut them off. Next point is KPIs need to be in place. KPIs are key performance indicators. So you just need to make sure for each and every role you have these key performance indicators so that you're able to tell if someone is conducting their job well or not. The other thing I would say is let go if somebody is not doing what they need to do. There's always someone better out there. So never ever feel like, had this person for so long and never ever feel like I've had someone for so long and can't let them go. You can, and you can do somebody else. The other thing I would say is passion is the heart of success. So make sure right now when you're starting your brand, or if you have your brand, you're the only one who sort of knows where you want it to go. You need to be able to communicate to your team effectively and often, and to remind them of your goal. If you don't do that, then you're the one who's going to have this vision, and they won't feel it. So I think learning your team and learning what motivates them is going to take you a much longer way, because then you'll know what to give them or what to do for them to be motivated, whether it means words of affirmation, congratulations, whatever it may be. You need to learn what motivates your team. Culture of the company is a must. The culture we have for our company right now is growing, and we try and do that, with each and every one. And that's why we even do the training. We really try and encourage growth in all aspects. If you're part of the team and you see there's a team member there who knows something that you don't, we encourage teaching each other, learning from each other. We have free courses that we make available to our staff at all times. So it's all about growth. So you need to create a culture for your team so that whoever comes in from outside just gets inducted into that. Next is communication will ensure the success of your team. Over communicate and ensure clarity. This goes back to just being the one leading the team and being the one who knows the vision. You're the only one who has this roadmap, and you need to be able to communicate that clearly and as often as possible. Some of the don'ts when growing your team is don't assume anything. Don't assume your people know anything. Don't assume that customers know. In fact, just assume nobody knows anything, so that you can just always just keep communicating over and over. You'd rather over communicate than under communicate. Decision making, I would say don't let big decisions be made by members of your team without your knowledge. What that means is if you've hired some people who maybe are going to be managing certain positions, and you've empowered them to make decisions, make sure those decisions are always run by you, if they're big decisions. So that's also a balance. You need to figure out for your company or for your team what decisions are big decisions, and make sure that they run by you before they execute. Another thing is don't overlook bad behavior. And that could be anything. It could be stealing, lying, causing tension between the team, anything that is interfering with your goal for your team and for your brand. I think needs to be addressed and needs to be addressed immediately. If it means cutting off a bad finger, that's what needs to be done. But yeah, overall, I'd say that is just a quick run through of how I lead the ICON team. And yes, I hope you gain something from that, and I'll take any questions if there's any.
Thank you very much, Chris and Njoki, for that wonderful presentation. If you have any questions, this is a good time to ask. We have 10 minutes to the end of this session, so kindly drop your questions in the chat box for Connie and for Chris and Njoki. Okay, we have a question from Bule Benkosi. Who was your first employee, like which department?
So the first employee I had was a seamstress, because when you start the brand, it's all about the clothes. And so it was a girl I found who was really interested in design, but then she had no formal training, and she used to do a lot of she used to work at a tailoring shop, but more so fixing clothes with errors. And so I took her in, and at that time I was fresh out of school, and I trained her everything I learned from school. That took a while, maybe about 1 year, but we used to work hand in hand. And after that, she went on to become our head of production, and she stuck with us for about 5 years, 5.5 years actually, before she had to leave. But yeah, that was my first. And we were just the two of us for about 1.5 years before I ever got somebody else.
Thank you very much, Chris and Njoki. We have another question from Belinda Katungo. She says she's excited about what you're doing. She's passionate about empowering women with skill. She says she has been engaging women in her community to see how she can help them in equipping them with tailoring skill. But she has a question. I really have no idea how I can just group them together and formally work with them. How can I personally get in touch with you? I need guidance. I'll be eternally grateful.
All right. What I'll do is I'm going to drop my email in the chat box, and you can just send me an email with maybe what you're doing currently and how far you are in the process and how exactly you would want me to help, and I'd be happy to do so.
Thank you very much for that. So we have another question. How do you manage, for Blessing Bashir, how do you manage inventory and knowing how much volume per season?
All right, so this is in production. I'm going to assume this is in production. So for us, it's been a learning curve, because obviously when you start out, it's not the same volume as 8 years later. And so for now, you just have to track how much you're selling on a day-to-day basis. So one thing I would say that helps us with a lot of data, because this is a lot of data collection, you need to make sure that you're using a POS system that is giving you very, very good data. And it just depends on what you're using. So if you're doing e-commerce and you're selling online, the platform that I would suggest to use, if it works in your country, is Shopify. So Shopify is a platform where you can have your website on, and you can actually sell from it. But on top of that, what I love about it is the data that you're given there is like really good. It's crazy. It's very in-depth. You get to know how many pieces you're selling, at what time, at what point. Like, you can really go in depth on your data. The other thing that I like about the Shopify is that you're able to actually plug in, if you do open a store, you can have that store POS also on the same platform. This means that everything you produce in your brand will actually go through this one system, whether it's sold in the shop, whether it's sold on a website, whether it's sold on the street. Like, you can actually track all inventory. So I hope that answers your question. But with tracking how much volume to produce, it's now based on data. It cannot just be from the top of your head. And I remember when we started the brand 8 years ago, I would produce 5 pieces of one top, and those 5 pieces would include 3 sizes. So I would literally have like 1 extra small, 2 smalls, and 2 mediums, and that's what we started with. And we would still have dead stock, but then you grow slowly. And as you grow, it's going to be a bit scary going much bigger volume wise, but you have to sort of learn who your consumer is and what they gravitate towards. And it's all backed by data. I hope I answered your question. So check out Shopify if you can. It's a big help, very big help for us.
Thank you very much. I think this is going to be the last question we'll be taking for today, and it's from Caroline. What's the best way to establish how to pay for a particular role? Do you know of any guidelines for the fashion industry in your country, Kenya? Or how do you benchmark to know you are giving them fair pay?
So this is a great question, Caroline. And what I would say is, for me, what I've done is I'm able to do my research with existing businesses in the same So I will go and, even before we started getting our seamstresses, we used to produce with another company that would do actually all of the production. And for us, we would just give them the stuff. So even those people who used to produce, I got to befriend them, and I would ask them, what is your pay? What are you getting? And I could compare that with even other competitors. And there's ways to go around it, but you just have to be sort of nose deep and know what's happening in your industry, try and find out the rates, because if you compare with rates you get on the internet, you're going to be overpaying everywhere, because of course the rates you'll be seeing online will be rates from like the US, which is completely different from what we have here. And so for me, it was just a lot of research on the ground to see what like the rate is. And I tried comparing different seamstresses in different environments. So even the seamstresses in the markets, who sort of have their own sewing machine, just getting to talk with them, finding out, how much they get per day, and just really just trying to dig and see, out of all these different people doing the same thing but in different environments, what is the best rate I would give for our seamstresses. I hope that really helped.
Thank you very much, Chris. And thank you very much, Konyalush. I'm sure today's session was quite enlightening and insightful for a lot of our participants who are on the call, and they have benefited greatly from your wealth of experience. So thank you very much. And we really, really appreciate you for your time. Thank you, Connie, for dishing out wealth of knowledge from what you have experienced, from your experience. Much appreciated. So if you have any further questions, please kindly send your questions to Fashionomics Helpdesk at cchub.africa, and I'll be more than happy to respond to you and give you feedback regarding your questions. The WhatsApp group will be opened afterwards for you to share and rub minds together as fashion designers on your experience building a team and hiring your staff. Please note, we'll also be sharing with you a link for you to fill. It's the midline survey, and it's for you to just fill out. It's just a feedback form for you to evaluate how the training has been thus far. Today is the eighth lesson, and we have 8 more to go. So we are midway to the end of the program, and we have 8 more sessions. So thank you for your time. If you have any issues or you're having difficulty accessing the Moodle platform, please kindly send an email to Fashionomics Helpdesk at cchub.africa, and we'll be more than happy to respond to you. Any last words from you, Connie, and then Chris Njoki?
No, I would say, just keep pushing. This fashion business sometimes, it has its ups and downs, but so long as you're the leader and the vision bearer, every day is a chance to just be better than yesterday and to keep working on your brand. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Connie. Thank you for the wise words. Any words, parting words from Chris Njoki?
Yes, I'd just like to thank everyone who joined this call for letting me come on here and talk a bit about the Icon brand and business. And I hope I did provide some insight for anyone out there who's looking to grow their teams and manage them effectively. Another thing I would say is when you're starting your brand or when you're growing your brand and managing your teams, is just follow your gut. Sometimes I know, especially in the beginning, money can be tight, cash can be tight, and it seems like you're always making the wrong decisions. But if you just stick to why you started, which is just to create beautiful products and to make sure you're pleasing your customers, then you'll find that things just fall into place. You don't have to grow a mountain in 1 month or 2 months. It's not going to happen that quickly, but take that time to really learn the inner parts of your business before you want to grow too fast. It really helps. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris Njoki. So for those who are still having issues with the module platform, please send an email to Fashionomics Help Desk at cchub.africa. Please, I want to appeal to you when you are sending your emails, let your emails come very clear. Let them not be vague. If possible, state into details the challenges that you have experienced while trying to access the module platform. Do not assume that our team at the other end will be able to understand automatically what you are trying to say. So please, I will implore you when you are sending emails to Fashionomics Help Desk at cchub.africa, please ensure that they're very clear and straight to the point so that our team will be able to answer you and attend to see to resolving whatever challenge it is that you are facing with the help desk platform. We are going to be calling it a day. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Chris and Njoki. It was such a fantastic session. And we'll call it a day. We are calling it a day this week. We'll be meeting again next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Please kindly prepare. Like I said, the WhatsApp group will be open for engagement where you will be able to rub minds on how your experience in hiring and managing your team and hiring team members. And again, you would also be required to fill in the midline survey form. Please ensure that you do that and respond as quick as possible. Thank you very much, guys, and see you on WhatsApp group. And if you have any questions, like I said the other time, do not hesitate to send them to Fashionomics Help Desk at cchub.africa, and our team will respond to you shortly. Do have an amazing day, and bye. See you on WhatsApp and see you again next week. Bye, everyone.